The door. Hey, hold on. Welcome to Star Alignment channel. If you're watching this, give me a second. Hold on. This is a live stream. You can tell by the title. I'm not gonna get into that yet. I'm gonna wait some couple seconds or minutes or whatever to let everybody get into the stream. All right. So hold tight. Cross that line. You gotta. I had a dream, face ass. But let me stop playing. I'm finna get into here. Now listen. I'm sorry for holding you. You know what I mean? So look, check this out. All right. So first, I'm gonna go ahead and get into the video. Now this video, as you can tell by the title, right, it's gonna be thorough, but very brief. I just want to get some energies out the way for you to understand what's going on. This video, as you can tell by the title, is gonna be about what is it? Hold on, one second. This video is gonna be about, do women go to heaven? Now, obviously, I named it that title for not gonna say clickbait because it is a real question. That's really what we're talking about. But I'm gonna tell you why we're talking about it, and it is for is that. This is a quick disclaimer. This is not me damning everybody and all that shit like that. This is not in the most literal sense as far as just because you're a female. Of course not, duh. But there is a science to this that men and women both can play out these energies and they can halt them or stifle them. Shout out to Close to Death, Bonjour. So this is how this plays out, because this one is deep. Understand what I'm saying? Because we all, it's not about women, it's not about men. We all clear out these tricks. Feminine and masculine energies is not predicated to male, man, or women. These are energies that predate these physical bodies. So understand that. So do women go to heaven? The first thing I want to talk about is the one thing when you talk about heaven and hell is heaven and hell are actually places there, states of beings. Now there is a representation of these things in totality as far as realm or dimensional wise, as far as aka the higher you ascend, the lighter you ascend, you ascend more so into the lighter realms. The higher you ascend, spiritually, you ascend in the lighter realms, the lighter side of the astral realm, or the lighter side of the spiritual realm. Now you can ascend also, but you can ascend into the heavier realm, but still ascend. So you still ascend to a fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension of body, whatever. But in the deeper part of the astral realm, or the heavier part of the astral realm, so you stay being than what you are here now. You just live in that a heavier hertz, like when you see the frequency hertz, the heavier hertz. Now here's the thing. But if your spirit is not expanded enough, you're not necessarily ascending. Period. Lighter or heavier, you're not reaching a higher dimensional vessel. But knowing that's the case, if you look at the average, when you look at the average woman in anybody, heavy emotion. A lot of times, if your spirit is not big enough, you don't have enough conscious awareness or enough experience to expand to a higher vessel, then the only way you can pass on is by being light enough and not having a heavy load, to the point where you still might reincarnate, but at least you actually come back into you come back into a lighter life that can play out like heaven, or more percentage of that go into your favor. The reason why I asked the question, do women go to heaven, is just a funny statement, because realistically speaking, when you talk about heavy emotions is what holds you down. That's what bring you down. That's what adds weight to your spirit. And when you talk about ascension or ascending to a lighter realm of reality, your spirit has to be light. You have to either have enough conscious level and your spirit be broad enough to take a higher vessel, or you at least have to be light to be able to go through the astral realm when you die, and then be able to pass on. And what they say, that's why they call it pass on. But a lot of times, a lot of women be having heavy emotions. One, that holds them down, and then two, The another aspect of the water element that they have a lot of is heavy attachment. And you damn sure can't pass on to go nowhere with heavy attachment. That's like the worst you can be. You know what I'm saying? Because when you have heavy attachment to this realm of reality, you stay down here as a ghost. So you not necessarily, you not even in the lighter part of this realm of reality. Like it's a lot of spirits that's ghosts that pass on, but they don't be in the heavier side of this realm behind the veil as a ghost. They be in the lighter side of this realm of the ghost. The one that's more lighter. You see what I'm saying? It's just like when you have colors. You got regular colors, you got darker versions of these colors, you got lighter versions of these colors. These are all spectrums of the third dimension. So when you talk about behind the veil or the spiritual, the yin realm in the third dimension. I'm trying to because this realm is a part of the astral realm, right? This is just a heavier, dense version of it when you're born into this physical vessel. But when you die, you go into the astral realm side of Earth. There's a lighter side of Earth. There's a deeper, darker side of Earth. You notice for a fact because that's why sometimes you have nightmares, dreams, and then sometimes you have a lighter, what you would call a more heavenly dream, or just a lighter dream that don't affect you as negatively and harshly, and it's more pleasant, and you feel more lighter and free. Okay, the same mechanism is going on when you actually pass away. Now, like I said, the thing with women is a lot of them already have a lot of heavy emotions. And the biggest thing, though, even more important, which those held you down too, but the biggest one, the biggest factor, if anything, is the attachment. That attachment is what's gonna hold any spirit down, male or female, because we all have these energies. But you being attached to this reality, you're not gonna be light enough to go off and be free to travel somewhere else. Because I'm gonna tell you this: even if your spirit hasn't expanded broad enough to be able to ascend to a higher dimension and get out of this 3D as a whole, this third dimensional realm we call Earth isn't the only Earth. The third dimension is a whole dynamic. Like the third dimension is like a whole dimension, a whole realm of reality. Earth is just Earth that we call Earth, this planet. This is just one planet in the third dimension. But there's hundreds and thousands of other third dimensional worlds. You see what I'm saying? That's why I say look at the Terra Infinita map. There's TerraInfinita. Now I know that's not a lot of knowledge that's been put out to y'all because they don't want you to know what's going on with NASA shit and hoaxes and all that shit. But the third dimension as a whole that's filled with many different realms. Just like shout out to subconscious community. But they say each dimension got it's hundreds and thousands and millions of different realms within it. You see what I'm saying? So it's not like when you say a dimension that's just one world and it's just being living in that one world. No, there's multiple different worlds. It's like you get a mosquito on a low level, and then you get on a higher level than that, but still lower than you. There's many different bodies and dimensions and realms of realities you can take just inside of one dimension itself. You see what I'm saying? So you don't even have to not and be going off to ascend to the higher dimension all the time with the knowledge. You can still be light enough to or not be attached here enough to even though you still stay in the third dimension because your spirit ain't broad enough to take a higher dimensional vessel yet, you still can experience something else in the new world, a new experience, and it play out as more positive in your favor. And then all these, Pleiades systems, all these different worlds and Earth that's out there. But the reason y'all be so attached here is because some shit that y'all have been helped to be attached to this world in such a form too. But you don't know what you'll like until you try it. It's just like your favorite food or cat candy or roller coaster, or theme park. The one you in like now is, let's say, referred to Earth, might be lit as hell. You don't want to leave it, but you don't know. They might be a Knott's Berry Farms or a SeaWorld or a Disney World you never even knew of. You just stand playing at your local fair, and there's other worlds out here with much more esoteric currency put into them, with much more dimension, much more dynamic to them, much more of it. And you'll stay stuck into your local fair, in your little county fair, not knowing they got whole Disney worlds out here, whole Sea Worlds out here, whole Six Flags out here. You see what I'm saying? Whole Busch Gardens out here. You see what I'm saying? Whole aquatic water parks out here and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Real talk though, real talk. I ain't lying, real talk, real talk. But you'll never know if you never be like so that's the direction that they got a lot of y'all spirits in, period. But getting back on topic, the reason why I say the women go to heaven is because like I said, I mentioned the heavy emotion part, how that holds you down spiritually. And you might not have enough conscious awareness to be light enough to go to ascend to a higher dimension. So you going off the will of where you at now. And if your spirit ain't expanded yet, if you got heavy emotion, that's gonna automatically hold you down. But then your attachment to this realm of reality is not gonna allow you to be free, light enough to go into any other new realm of reality. So you're gonna repeat the same circumstances, situations. And since you was heavy emotionally, you're not in the lighter. So you're gonna end up manifesting a similar life or a life again that's even possibly more holistic or more lower vibrational than it was the last time, because that's your spirit letting you know that it's tired of that circumstance and situation, and it wants to go into a new circumstance. Shout out to Close to Death. Shout out to I Comment Too Much. Shout out to Domagoy. Shout out to y'all. I'm glad to see y'all here. Much love to y'all. So that's how that plays out. Now here's the thing. Here's another important thing. A lot of times, but men and like I said, men and women too. Let me speak slower for y'all. I know how y'all are. For men and women too, we all deal with this one right here. So this is not subjected to just women. But I do want to say probably most likely on the percentage level, if you had to judge on a percentage level, women probably carry out this trait a little bit more than men. And this trait right here, shout out to Anat Patil. And this one right here is a lot of times women don't always have direction all the time. So I don't want to say you have to be led, but a lot of times it plays out as sometimes y'all have to be led, so they easily get lost in this system. And what I mean by that is this: females is badly supported by the water element. Period. Very powerful element. But a lot of times water has a tendency to always want to connect. So this is why they say it is true though. It is important for women to have something that they are a part of, because when water is not connected, it gets stagnant. And you know what happens from a metaphysical point of view and the physical point of view. What happens to stagnant water physically? When it's too stagnant, it accumulates all kind of germs, bacteria, and shit like that, and then it get dirty, and then it get toxic. And then what happens when a woman is, let's say they're not getting any, or they're not in certain relationships, or they're not a part of a group of women that they can feel comfortable around. Well, because a woman need to feel comfortable in some shape or form. When a woman is not feeling comfortable, their light is not reflecting anymore like the womb energy, like the feminine energy is supposed to be, translucent like the women feminine energy is supposed to be, so we can be free and just experience. It becomes hardened like a rock or brick, aka something that needs to be in a situation to create a shell around itself, because it's in a situation where it don't want to feel vulnerable. And I'm not gonna say that that's not a bad thing, but I'm saying for you to have to be in that situation in the first place, because your spirit do need to not be vulnerable. That is true as a woman, and be in the womb and all that stuff like that. But at the same time, for you to even have to be in that situation in the first place, it's already gonna put you kind of like in a negative state of being, whether you're aware of it or not. And that can be negative and play out in your own life like that. Um, so you don't be as free or be able to really jump into your divine feminine energy the way you want to. And that's why the government and shit like that in the world be trying to halt the feminine energy in everybody, period, but especially women specifically, because y'all, the vessels y'all are in, carries a larger amount of percentage of the feminine energy at the moment right now, that the vehicle that we in this room reality. And so that's why they stifle women so much, and trying to have women speak, or trying to put women in places of power. Now it's truth and pros and cons to everything, but ultimately that is what it is, and that's the reason why. Because feminine energy is the most powerful thing. Better this and that, a third. And energy is not only deducted to just the male and female body, but females on a percentage level tend to probably most likely harness a lot more of this energy than the male, obviously, right? So, I had a point. I kind of had a point. Lost my point. Damn, where I was. But so that's how that plays out. You feel what I'm saying? So, oh yeah, that's what I was saying. Just briefly, yeah. So they try to halt that energy because that energy is powerful. So, but anyway, but the thing with y'all is, when a woman get too like that, they end up, they think they're being individual powerful women, but what they're doing is they're getting y'all twisted up in the mind to think that a strong woman is something badly supported by the masculine energy. That's why they trick y'all out. Now, I'm not saying that you don't need to have masculine energy and that you don't need to be able to get it on your own, yes. But my thing is, not what you do, is how you do it. I'm not saying you got to be a hoe and all that sellers, but it's certain energy women have naturally that is the attractor energy, the manifestation energy. You see what I'm saying? That you're not supposed to have to work as hard to manifest what you want in your life as a female naturally, because you are the womb, you are that black hole energy. So you're not, women aren't always supposed, I'm not gonna say women ain't always supposed to work hard, but on a percentage level, no. Unless you unless you was born as a reality, and that's something you knew you had a purpose for and a drive for, and you wanted to be like that. That's different, because that's your personal path and calling at the moment. But you need to understand that though. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times they make y'all work harder than y'all have to, and they really trying to invert y'all to take more of your feminine power away. It just where morality all effed up. But I'm not even gonna get too deep into that, because that's deep. I could say that for another video. I've already talked about it a little bit, but I could go deeper. But that's how that plays out. So this is why females a lot of times it messes up too, because they have to always feel like they have to be a part of something, which is not bad. They do to an extent. because that's the water element. So a woman may not feel comfortable if she's all alone by herself, and she's gonna carry out that, like I said, being too hard or being toxic in some shape or form, and that you think that's cute and strong and tough, but really that's just you being wounded and not being able to truly express yourself the way you want to express yourself and need to express yourself as a woman. You see what I'm saying? So it gets dangerous, and that's pretty much it. But you need to understand that. So, but with women being in a state of being of needing to kind of cling on to something or be a part of something, which ain't bad by the way, but that just means that you're easily led astray. I say on the percentage of a man could probably, I ain't even trying to get into because I know how y'all are, but I say on the percentage of a man could probably be in a situation where he can kind of be alone to a certain extent and direct certain things in the way that he want to direct it more so than a woman can, because the woman is still a part of that water element, so they have to be a part of something in the sense, in the shape or form. And if they're not led the right way, are they really not in tune with themselves? Because they can be individuals. They just have to know. They have to truly know themselves and be conscious, aware enough to have enough intuition and be truly intuitive about what they need, not the fake shit, but to really know what they need in their life. And then that'll be different. But for the most part, if you don't have that, it can be tricky out here because it's easier for them to be led by certain things. And when you got a whole mass that you just gotta follow something, you know, women are easily more trendy than a lot of niggas are. So if you, but we all are as this space because this is a flawed space period. But when you got an energy like that, it's easy to get swept off your feet or to get lost in the current. It's because it's easy to not go your own way. And the way that this world got y'all in, it's just ways of like reincarnating and experience the same shit. Y'all, a lot of y'all not going to heaven. I know y'all think that religious shit is cool, and y'all sit back and smile and think it's gonna be all right. But y'all do need to understand that that is some shit that is created by that is some shit that is created by the government, and it's the very same thing that it used to take y'all over in the first place. It's not some spiritual holy book that they gave. It's truth in it, but it's not so spiritual shit that is so much needed and some great God out the Father give it to you. Nigga, they the same people that hand you the damn book as the people that help create and at least add on to the book. They took a whole bunch of other texts and put the text together that had truth in it, and then they wrote over their own points of views in it and shit like that to add. And they add a lot of, they wrote that shit. Y'all should understand. Men wrote that shit. Like, y'all can say all y'all want about some made this, do that, and all that shit like that, but sat back and wrote that shit. And they using that shit against it. That's why they got all the parables that y'all go through as a group of people that they speak about in the Bible. You think they talk about some old shit. No, they talk about y'all. When they talk about putting your master and shit, they talk about y'all. That's why these books got published the same time when slavery was fucking around with King James and all that shit like that. So I'm not gonna go deep into this shit, but you just need to understand that. So a lot of these shits will hold y'all back. A lot of y'all not really going nowhere really though. A lot of y'all just like pointless. Like I be saying shit to certain conscious people, you know. What I'm gonna say this: conscious people be saying certain shit, like, oh yeah, you know, you conscious, you should just leave. You know, you could leave anytime. Your life is always could be in, and that's so true because you know you going if you conscious and shit, and you can get sent to a higher realm reality that's better. But really, I kind of direct that energy to y'all too, though, because I feel like it's worse if you don't know shit. You can't go nowhere but up. I feel like when you in your shit like that, I don't know. I'm not gonna get too deep into it, but like a lot of y'all just better off. Like y'all just we in a new time now. And if you ain't keeping up with what's actually going on and actually keeping up with the times we in, it's just like, I'm not talking about the trends and all that shit. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about the area we in, the shift we in. It's energetically. If you're not really aware of yourself and evolving, you wasting your time, period. So that's all I'm gonna say. But that's all I had to say. I'm not gonna go into crazy. About 19 minutes in, almost 20. Peace. Y'all have a great day.